how did you start opening the umbrella on that idea?
Yeah, I don't know how people started businesses before Google. I'll be honest. It was a lot of Googling. But I began with how do I get ocean plastic? That was the first search because I wanted to make sure, to me, that's always been the most important part of the business, of the supply chain, has been ensuring that material is authentic, actually having an impact on the problem. So that was my real jumping off point because there are hundreds of umbrella factories, but I really wanted to have my primary focus from the beginning be that this is authentic material having an impact on the problem. So I began there, and then from there, I kind of built the supply chain backwards a little bit, then started approaching umbrella manufacturers after I felt good about the plastic itself.
So, okay, so let's go back to the documentary then. So, when you saw this documentary, about all of this plastic in the ocean, which I'll tell you right now, I've had this conversation recently with at least two people that were naysayers saying that that was all made up, that there isn't that amount of plastic in the ocean. I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Because I'll let you know, I've traveled the world quite a bit. And when I've gone to some, let's say, poorer countries, there's littered with plastic along their coastlines and rivers and stuff. So I'm sure it's out in the ocean as well. So when you saw that documentary, then, like, what was your thought then about there's so much plastic? Did it not feel overwhelming?
It definitely felt overwhelming. And for any naysayers, I would highly suggest looking into or following the ocean cleanup on Instagram, and you will see how much plastic there is just in what's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So the gyres that you mentioned, I'm part of the Five Gyres Institute. There are five gyres within our oceans. And due to currents and the way basically the flowing of the ocean works, they have become real hotbeds for ocean plastic, deeply, deeply concentrated. So the Ocean Cleanup is an organization out there pulling that plastic from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So if you want confirmation that ocean plastic exists, you can just go ahead and click on their Instagram, and there can't be a reasonable doubt that it's out there. Um, but it was really a challenge from the get-go of how do I go into the ocean and get this plastic? Like, how is it actually going to work? I spent a lot of time in research and development and spoke to a lot of oceanologists, scientists, plastic pollution specialists, anyone that I could get my hands on that was relevant to this problem. Anyone willing to talk to me. So when I spoke to them, they were saying that by the time the plastic gets deep into the ocean, it is decayed past what our modern day recycling system can really handle. So the salt, the sun, the waves really beat it up. And so it's not good quality plastic that can go through our standard system. And they were saying what the primary focus for businesses like mine should be is diverting that plastic from getting into the deep ocean, focusing on rivers, the early ocean beds, coastlines, streams, before it really, really gets out there and starts decaying past the point of any sort of upcycling. So that's where we focus our efforts, predominantly in countries, like you said, where plastic pollution is a huge issue on beaches and coastlines. And we work with them to gather it, to bring it to recycling centers where we can turn it into plastic fabric, polyester, and then that can become the canopies for umbrellas.
Yeah, that's amazing. Again, it's like you just taught me something because when you were saying ocean plastic, I was literally thinking there were like nets out in the ocean now that were just dredging this plastic. And you've just, pointed out to me, it's like, no, that plastic you can't even use because now it's so broken down. We have to get it before it gets to that point. So we're all learning something from all of that. But so you have this idea now, and you're like, I think I want to do this. And Google's been your best friend so far, but also we all need funding to get our business ideas off the ground. So you actually launched a Kickstarter. Tell us about the Kickstarter journey.
Yeah, it was quite a journey. It definitely takes more than you think it does. I think a lot of people think they put on their exciting product, write a little bit about it, include some pictures, maybe a video, and then it just takes off from there. But now the platforms are so popular that you really have to drive your own audience there. You need to make sure that you're constantly marketing, and keeping up the momentum for the length of the campaign that you run, which in our case was 30 days. So it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, ultimately very worth it. I was really fortunate to significantly surpass the goal I had set, and use it as a method of pre-orders as well, which I do recommend to product-based businesses if that's how they would like to begin that pre-order process. Because then once the umbrella arrived, I already had my full list of people that not only I wasn't chasing for payments because they had already purchased via the Kickstarter, so it was really seamless of just me receiving them and then the customer receiving them from there.
Right. That's so true. And people ask me all the time about social media and Kickstarter stuff. I'm like, you have to build and nurture your audience. It doesn't just come built in with the platform. And if you're lucky enough to get on a local news program, even, that's great PR, but it generally starts with your friends and family. And is that what you found too? That you needed to start really convincing your family members and your neighbors and stuff like, hey, I'm doing this and it's a good idea?
Yes, absolutely. I had spent about 2 years developing the product, and I know sometimes entrepreneurs don't like to share their ideas with friends and family before they launch their product, but I was very open about it, and so I already had a really great group of friends and family who were in my corner and ready to buy as soon as the Kickstarter went live. So I do think creating awareness beforehand, if you'll be launching via crowdfunding, is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.